the same. Is the West more reliant on Africa than it's willing to admit? As a wave of African nations move to restrict exports to Western countries, the power dynamic is flipping, and fast. Suddenly, it's not Africa scrambling to keep up, it's the West feeling the squeeze. So what's the game plan now? And who's leading this bold new movement? Let's break it down. For decades, Western economies have operated on a quiet assumption that Africa would always provide a steady stream of cheap raw materials, oil, gold, uranium, lithium, all the essentials to keep their factories running and their tech advancing. From smartphones to electric cars, African resources have been the silent engine behind global progress. But now, Africa is drawing a line. A growing number of African countries, 10 and counting, are putting tight restrictions on raw material exports. They're keeping more of that value at home, investing in local industries, and jump-starting their own economies. And this isn't some minor trade shift. It's shaking up global markets and catching Western powers off guard. This isn't just about economics. It's about sovereignty. African nations are no longer letting the rest of the world dictate the terms. They're deciding how their resources are used, where they go, and most importantly, who benefits. For too long, Africa's raw materials were shipped out cheap, refined elsewhere, then sold back at a markup. That cycle trapped countries in dependency, stalling growth, and stripping them of economic power. But now, the script is changing. These new export rules send a clear message. Africa is done playing the passive supplier. This is a turning point, not just for Africa, but for the global economy, and the world is watching. 1. Uganda's coffee revolution, from fields to power player. Back in 2021, Uganda made a bold move that turned heads across the global coffee industry. It banned the export of raw agricultural products, including coffee and tea. Why? Because Uganda, one of the top coffee producers in the world, was tired of watching others cash in on its hard work. For decades, Ugandan farmers grew the beans. But the big profits, those went to foreign companies who bought the coffee cheap, processed it overseas, and sold it at a premium. Uganda said, enough. Now the country is focusing on exporting processed coffee, roasted, packaged, ready for shelves, not just raw beans. The shift is about more than economics. It's about fairness, dignity, and control. Uganda is building up its own coffee processing industry, creating local jobs, boosting incomes, and keeping more of the profit at home where it belongs. Why should Ugandan farmers do the heavy lifting while foreign corporations get the big payday? That's the question at the heart of Uganda's new policy, and the answer is changing the game. Western coffee giants, long used to buying raw beans at rock-bottom prices, are now facing a choice: pay more for value-added Ugandan coffee, or look elsewhere. Either way, their supply chains and profit margins just got a wake-up call. This isn't just a business decision, it's a power move. By stepping up the value chain, Uganda is building a more stable, self-reliant economy that isn't at the mercy of global commodity price swings. Next time you sip your coffee, remember, Uganda isn't just growing beans. It's growing an economy and changing the rules of the global trade game while it's at it. 2. Gabon's timber takeover, turning logs into leverage. Back in 2010, Gabon banned the export of raw logs. At first glance, it looked like a simple trade policy, but beneath the surface, it was a declaration of independence. For years, Gabon's forests fed industries across Europe and Asia. Raw logs would leave Gabon only to be turned into furniture, flooring, and luxury wood products abroad, with the real profits landing in foreign pockets. Gabon asked the obvious question: if our timber can build European wealth, why can't it build ours too? The ban sparked growth in homegrown industries like furniture making, carpentry, and wood manufacturing. Not only did it create jobs, but it also diversified the economy. The ripple effect? European companies, once reliant on cheap logs, suddenly had to rethink supply chains. Now, they either buy value-added wood products from Gabon at a higher price or look elsewhere. This wasn't just economic strategy, it was economic justice. Gabon turned its forests into a force for national development. 3. Niger's uranium wake-up call, turning the tables on France. After a major political shakeup, Niger slapped restrictions on uranium exports, squarely targeting France. For decades, France's nuclear power grid, which provides nearly 70% of its electricity, depended on uranium quietly mined from Niger's soil. The problem? Uranium was sold dirt cheap, with profits ending in Paris, while Niger remained one of the poorest nations on Earth. That deal is over. Now France faces rising costs and shrinking supplies, exposing its so-called energy independence as a myth. Niger's uranium was the lifeline. This isn't just about money. It's about dignity, power, and ownership. Niger is telling the West, if you want our resources, you'll play by our rules. 4. Guinea's food-first policy, feeding its people before the world. Guinea just made a game-changing move. It banned exports of key staple crops like rice, maize, and yams. For years, Guinea's farms fed markets abroad, while Guineans at home struggled with food shortages and soaring prices. The question became unavoidable. Why should Guineans go hungry while their harvests feed wealthier countries? Now, Guinea is reclaiming food sovereignty. This isn't isolationism. It's survival, responsibility, and self-respect. Western importers are scrambling. They've long relied on cheap African agriculture. But Guinea has made it clear, our crops aren't just commodities, they're lifelines. 5. Mozambique's timber power move, from log supplier to value creator. In 2017, Mozambique followed Gabon's example. No more raw log exports. For decades, Western companies enjoyed a sweet deal. Buy cheap raw wood, ship it out, turn it into high-end products elsewhere. Mozambique did the work, others made the profits. That model is history. Now, Mozambican timber means finished goods, furniture, flooring, plywood, made by local workers, in local factories, taxed into local budgets. This isn't just trade reform, it's dignity and long-term vision. Mozambique is keeping value at home, creating jobs, and building industries. 6. Namibia flips the script on lithium. Lithium is the new gold in the EV era, and Namibia just shocked the world. Instead of shipping lithium raw and cheap, Namibia restricted exports, forcing companies to invest locally if they want access. Western tech giants and automakers, long used to easy lithium, are panicking. But Namibia isn't backing down. It's securing its role in the green economy not as a supplier, but as a partner and leader. Africa isn't just powering the future, it's writing the rules. 7. Ivory Coast redefines cocoa power. For decades, Ivory Coast fed the world's sweet tooth, producing most of its cocoa while Western chocolate companies raked in billions. The nation that grew the cocoa got crumbs. Not anymore. Ivory Coast is restricting raw cocoa exports, investing in local chocolate production, and demanding respect. Western brands now face a choice: invest locally, pay more, or lose access. Cocoa is no longer just raw beans, it's becoming factories, jobs, and pride. 8. The DRC rewrites the tech game. The Democratic Republic of Congo sits on vast reserves of cobalt and copper, the backbone of EVs, smartphones, and solar panels. For years, these resources were shipped raw, enriching foreign industries while locals stayed poor. Now, the DRC has restricted raw exports, forcing companies to process minerals inside the country. This isn't just economics, it's justice. The DRC is no longer a raw materials pit. It's becoming a central player in the green energy revolution. 9. Zimbabwe's chrome ban, taking back control. Zimbabwe, one of the world's largest chrome producers, has stopped selling its chrome raw. For decades, it was shipped cheap, enriching foreign refineries. Now, chrome stays in Zimbabwe, feeding local industries and creating jobs. It's a clear stance. Zimbabwe won't be a warehouse for the world. It's building industries, not just supplying them. 10. Ghana's golden stand, rewriting the rules. Finally, we land in Ghana, where the story is as symbolic as it is strategic. Ghana, one of Africa's top gold producers, now requires mining companies to sell 20% of refined gold directly to the Bank of Ghana. Why? To build reserves and reduce dependence on foreign currencies like the dollar and euro. No more shipping raw gold cheap and buying it back at a markup. Companies must refine in Ghana, keeping value at home. This isn't just policy, it's a challenge to a global system that's long taken African gold for granted. For years, Western industries thrived on Ghana's cheap gold. Now, Profits are shrinking, and the West is feeling the heat. The message is clear. Africa's resources are no longer giveaways. They're leverage for independence, growth, and pride. Closing across Africa, the pattern is the same. Resources once exported raw and cheap are now being kept, processed, and transformed at home. From Uganda's coffee to Ghana's gold, from Niger's uranium to Namibia's lithium, Africa is done being the world's silent supplier. The age of cheap, unprotected African resources is ending, and the global economy will never be the same. Do you want me to expand this into a 12,000 character narration script with voiceover rhythm, cliffhangers, and power hooks for YouTube, or keep it in this article style for now?